roll into the so-called rivalry description? And do you think?
For me, I can't really draw any comparison because that's the only match I've been to. But personally, it's always going to be a rivalry for me, given that that was my first Derby match to attend.
Right.
And the way that whole match unfolded with them just giving us shit throughout the entire match until the 86th minute where we pulled it back and got the win. So, I mean, it's always going to have a special place for me, and I'm always going to look for that fixture when they come out in the summer.
You know what? It's somewhat farcical. Sorry to butt in.
No, please.
I don't know where this impression came from, but I do honestly believe that West Ham think that they're a bigger club than Spurs, and they feel that they should beat us or better than us or something along those lines. That we are no better than they are, and therefore they see us as equals, and that's just so out of touch with reality. That's there's a little bit of delusion going on there as well, I think.
Yeah, I would think for me, I mean, the list of clubs that if I had to rank clubs I really want to beat in a given season, I mean, they're way down there. It's a ridiculous annoyance when we don't get a result there. It bugs me, but I don't like. The way that I feel going into a West Ham game is nothing like an Arsenal, a Chelsea, a United, or a City, because I just put it within the context of what do we need to do to be successful, and it's not beating West Ham United. I mean, that's just a sort of a given, right? Okay. I appreciate your thoughts. There was an interesting discussion that happened this week, and I don't think it's quite as black and white as what James Taylor would.
Well, and just last word on that, Sam. I think as this defining Premier League era we're in progresses, I think you'll find that match will become one we certainly don't want to lose anymore because of the way their fans behave, making the mug and the T-shirt and the DVD and singing, it's happened again, which, it just doesn't happen again. It's normally us singing that. So you don't want to give them that opportunity to be that smug, so you might as well just go beat them home and away.
Well,
6 points. Thank you.
Who was it? Vass, I think it was Spooky that sent out a tweet yesterday that said, the fact that they thought that they were just going to have a chance to tie us and didn't, makes it all the sweeter. And I think there's some truth to that. So we did. We held on 3-2. I don't say that we botched a 3-goal lead, but we certainly gave up a 3-goal lead, and it was close at the end. And I was squeaky bum, as I'm sure everybody else was who was watching it. Tim, what's the narrative of this match in your eyes?
I mean, I think the big thing is just Aurier. That sending off changed the match, and it almost cost us the points in it. I mean, let's get a little bit into his individual performance. Yeah. What did you guys think about it? Because I thought up until that point it was very positive. I was very excited by everything he was doing. Those tackles. He had a couple of the sliding ones on Arnautovic, one of them in the box early in the match, and then he had another tackle. It wasn't a sliding one, but also on Arnautovic in the box. And I mean, he saved some chances there. He stopped some goal scoring chances, and I was real impressed by him. Also, I know you guys might give me some stick for this.
No, I think I know where you're going with this. He made Sissoko a better player yesterday.
Well, they have a good chemistry together.
They do.
Well, you got to think about it. They played together before at Toulouse. Yep. They were teammates. They both speak French. It seems like Sissoko's enjoying it a little bit more now that he's there. But they really did have a good chemistry on that right side of the pitch. There was very good passing in between the two of them, creating chances. Sissoko fed him a lot into the box. And so I think, moving forward, those two, I may win my bet. Who knows? We'll see.
Oh, did you? I didn't hear that you mentioned the bet last week.
We didn't.
So, I don't know whether I think Simon may know this. I don't know whether you know this, but I made a bet with him that Moussa Dembele would never score.
Sissoko.
Sissoko, sorry. Sissoko would not score more than 3 goals in his Spurs career. And I bet him $100.
His whole career, not even a season.
His whole career.
Wow.
So if he has to score 4 goals, and if he does, I shell out $100. I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I think, look, if Moussa Dembele hasn't, he's not. So I don't
But
know.
interestingly, on that, the Sissoko got highlighted on Match of the Day last night. I don't know, you guys probably don't pick up Match of the Day, but there was they analysed the Spurs game briefly, and then they picked up that Sissoko had improved. He was doing quite well, and they actually highlighted him. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that he was outstanding yesterday, but I think he probably played one of his best games. You know, he got in some tackles, he laid the ball off where he needed to. He did have a chemistry with Aurier, and he laid him in a few times. The one time led to that cross shot that Harry Kane just missed because he was offside anyway. But there were little glimpses of a serviceable central midfield player yesterday, and I think he did okay. So I sent a tweet out yesterday saying that that doesn't seem as though anyone's talking about Sissoko today, so there must be a reason for that.
Hey, you know what? I actually will say Sissoko changed this match. And
Okay.
It was one point. It was just the match was kind of lackluster in the beginning, and then he put that tackle in on Mark Noble.
Right.
And that sparked life into the match. And then we scored our goals shortly after that. And so, it's not his performance but just that tackle. There wasn't as much intensity in the game up until that point. And then when they got in that clash, man, everything changed.
But hang on just a second. That was actually Noble's tackle on Sissoko. You're talking about the one where Sissoko bowed up to him and they went chest to chest and he had his finger wagging in his face?
So he had put one on right before it, and then Noble put it on him. So I guess not his tackle, but the clash between the two of them.
Well, I thought that he was, and I don't know, and maybe I'm projecting because and it's bad because I don't want Sissoko to do badly. I just think he's a bad player, and I project that sometimes. So I'm watching him with the stink eye yesterday, and I thought Noble put a great tackle on him, and I thought it was kind of pussy that Sissoko gets up and is all pissed. It was a great tackle. Like that's the kind of tackle that I want to see Dyer or Sissoko making. So and he was kind of crying about it. There's a great picture out of it.
Hardly chest to chest, though, right? It's more like chest to waist.
Yeah,
Chest to face.
Well, that's a bit. I mean, there's a bit of Mackay and Billy Bremer in that photo, isn't it? I mean, it's a great shot. Whoever got that is an absolute money shot. But I agree with you. I mean, it was hard to deny the productive nature of his play yesterday, and I think you're absolutely right, Tim. I mean, there is chemistry with Aurier. They seem to have an understanding with each other, and one of my complaints about Sissoko is just this sort of lack of confidence that he sort of mopes around the pitch, and he's always doing safe things. And he made some really attractive passes yesterday, but he did something that I've always criticized him for, which is turning off in key moments, and a poor bit of defending led to their first goal. I mean, he sort of abandoned his player, and it just even a 3-goal game in a derby, it can always create contribute to a tight situation, and it ultimately did.
I'll agree on that. I'm not going to defend it. That goal is 100% his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that, but then again, the first header on the front post, there was Dele Alli was there, Eric Dyer was there, Harry Kane was just before.
Yeah, that was. I watched it again this morning. That was almost like a training ground move. The fact the front broke so quickly, and Dele just didn't see it.
Didn't respond.
He got the flick on, and Sissoko, he was just out of position, and should have had someone on the back post, and he wasn't there.
Yeah,
and
there was a mix up. It was pretty well. It was pretty well executed too. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but
I think the general game, what you said about Aurier before, he made some good tackles. He was playing quite confidently, but he was also a bit of a loose cannon. Yeah. Possibly after the yellow card, might have half expected Pochettino just to make the change and sort of bring Trippier on just to avoid that second yellow, but.
And it was such a clumsy tackle. I mean, he lost the ball in possession. The minute you saw him go on the ground, you knew he was going to be a day late. And then, of course, Carroll made an absolute meal of it as his leg got trapped under Aurier. So, and Aurier knew it. I mean, he tapped his chest when he walked off. He knew it's his bad. He didn't protest it. I don't even know why the Spurs players protested it, because you knew it was coming.
No, I think they just accepted it in the end. I mean, he got a little bit of criticism by the pundits that were covering the game on our screens over here. But then Teddy Sheringham actually mentioned something that may have been of relevance and can excuse Aurier a little bit, and that is that he was saying that perhaps he's come over with the mindset that, in the English Premiership you've got to get tough, you've got to get in, you've got to get stuck in, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and maybe he was just like overplaying it a little bit, and in the end it cost him. I'm sure Pochettino will have a word with him about it, and it'll all settle down from now on, but we'll miss him for the game against Huddersfield now. So
no biggie. I think one of the things about him, right, is that nobody would deny that he's talented, and nobody denies that he's an energetic, charismatic guy. And so here he is on his Premier League debut. And if you recall, it was really in the first 15 minutes he got in most of his trouble. And you could have argued that he could have had 2 cards. I think Michael Oliver was pretty generous with him, at least in one spot. Early, and he brought him over, and it was a clumsy challenge there. So, it's the fine margins of a player like that, especially in a situation where he's clearly enthusiastic about playing well, making his mark, and maybe Sheringham's comment that there's some truth there, as that he knows what the league's reputation is like. But I like that, and we have a great manager. I think we would all agree that's a coaching situation, and that's just part of a player maturing in this league. And we're very fortunate that he'll miss Huddersfield, and that's a situation where we should be able to put Kieran Trippier back in.
Mm-hmm.
The other real quick complaint I had about Aurier's game is his pressing. It seems that at times he's just a bit too eager to press high up the pitch, and he would leave Arnautovic open on the sideline. It happened numerous times throughout the entire game when he was in there.
Yeah, it happened early, in fact, where Alderweireld was really essentially a right back, and it forced him to sort of track back. I mean, he's very quick, and he gets himself in good position. But that's a tackle that you really don't want him to have to make on Arnautovic in that situation, the 6-yard. And he was kind of pulling on his shirt, too, and got away with it. It was a great bit of defending, but it's not. You want him to be more face up. Is that what you're sort of saying, as opposed to tracking back and?
Well, to be aware, to know that when Ollie's right there, you don't have to be the one to run up the press. And maybe going back to what Vats is saying with the transition to the English league, and then transitioning to Pocha style, he thinks he just needs to press all the time. So maybe it's just learning early on.
Yeah, I agree. I think we were just sort of briefly recapping on the game. I think the first 20-odd minutes or so, we were losing the ball quite regularly. West Ham were pressing us, passes from defence into midfield and from midfield into attack weren't reaching their destination. A lot of things were being cut out, and I felt we probably had to do a bit more defending than we actually needed to at the beginning of that game. Hence, probably why Aurier was making more recovering tackles than he maybe needed to.
Yeah, I felt this probably a good segue, Vast, to talk about Dele. I think one of the things that I seemed to see from him yesterday was poor touches that led to West Ham taking the ball away. It seemed like that happened time and time again, or not taking shots, taking an extra dribble, and then having the ball taken away from him. What do you guys think of his performance yesterday?
Lacks confidence. I mean, twice he could have shot the ball early, first time, and instead he pulls it back and gets caught. The first was on, it was a great ball by Sissoko, fed him into the box.
It was.
And he pulls it back and tries to appeal for a penalty, and it's not being given. The second one was when Kane had played him in, and he could have been off, but he got caught by the defender trying to pull it back. And it's just, where has his confidence gone? Usually he's going to rip those shots, and he's not doing it now.
Buddy had a great. Oh, sorry.
Carry on.
No. I was just going to say, but then but even still, and maybe this speaks to the tremendous talent that he is. But even still, he had influence on the game. He did make a beautiful cross that created was that Kane's first goal, and he was influential in being kind of a ruckus and stirring shit up, and he did a few things where we needed to keep possession or gain corners or gain throw-ins that I thought was pretty cheeky. He was rustling players and getting other players aggravated. But he's not banging in goals, and I thought there were 2 clear-cut opportunities. I mean, imagine if he scores in those spots. That game's done, right?
Yeah, he had one as well where he was through, I wouldn't say one-on-one, but then he had Sissoko breaking on the left and Aurier breaking on the right. And he did a little bit of nothing, really, and West